Hello and welcome to In Your Neighborhood. In Your Neighborhood is a program that looks at various neighborhoods throughout the city of Quincy and helps you to stay informed. We are visiting Ward 2 today, and well, I guess it's fitting that we would have the Ward 2 City Councilor in as a guest, Richard Ash. Richard, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Ward 2 is actually, I have a lot of connection to Ward 2 because I grew up in Ward 2 and my mom still lives in Ward 2 in the Penns Hill area.
Yep. People forget that Ward 2 covers from the Fore River Bridge down to mainly McGrath Highway on one side of Washington and then all the way up behind Gennaro's, Faxon Park, and Penns Hill. So to the Braintree line. So all the good parts of the city.
Oh, there you go.
I guess I'm partial.
I guess you would be. There's a lot to talk about today. You had just published your Ward 2 newsletter for the spring of 2024. So a lot of this will be taken from the newsletter. We have some additions as well.
Yes, no, that's great. My goal is to get one of these out. Well, my goal is, of course, to be getting stuff done, to have the content to get one of these out every few months.
Well said.
And I think we've got off on the right foot, and certainly the first few months have been very busy, but wouldn't change it. And so I'm excited to talk about some of the highlights.
And before we get there, if folks would like to subscribe to your newsletter.
Yep. Email rcash@quincyma.gov, or you can also, my campaign website is richardashforquincy.org. Sign up on either of those. Get you on the mailing list, and you'll have one of these in your email. But they did go out to every house in the ward as well.
Very good. So let's start with, I guess, what leads off this newsletter, and that is the Fore River Clubhouse.
Yes, the clubhouse. It is certainly a work in progress. There are large steps and jumps being made. This spring, in short, I will say this spring, neighbors will see the roof being replaced. And that, I'm going to actually forget the terminology, but the city secured a $500,000 community development block grant. And that's what Public Buildings Commissioner Paul Hines and I discussed at my site visit there last month. So the inside, if you're walking in from Nevada Road, the fireplace room to the right is being utilized, which is nice. There are new bathrooms on that side, on both sides actually, but the fireplace room is being utilized. I know there's a women's workout group that's in there Tuesdays and Thursday mornings. There are quite a few community groups that use that room at night as well. So it's nice that people are catching on that although the building as a whole is not finished, it is certainly available to reserve through the Parks Department. And then to the left side is kind of the gift that keeps on giving from a construction standpoint. It seems like every step forward tends to be a couple steps back. There's been a lot of water damage and
from the roof, I would assume.
From the roof, right? And so the beams are up, and it's the plan for it is amazing. I mean, you forget how big it is. I grew up in that room, but you forget how huge it is when it's gutted, and also that includes the attic. So I think it's, and I understand from the public's perspective, it should be done, and it should have been done a while ago. I will say from the clubhouse, when you look at it, you can't get a full view of it from any street. It's cut off there because
That's
it's
true.
Nevada Road, and then it's Beechwood, and then it's Harrison. So you forget how big the building is. It is coming along nicely. I had a great visit with Commissioner Hines, and the big news is that the roof will be replaced and repaired this spring, and then the internal rehab and renovation on the left side isn't expected to take too much longer. I say that, of course, with the big caveat that that's what we thought a couple of years ago. But and then there's also, if anybody went in there to vote in November or have been in there for any of the programming that's being housed there, the bathrooms, the main bathrooms in the back of the building, if you're from Nevada Road, those are done as well, and those are also beautiful. So that is an example of the type of building that is being built. And I hope everyone's as excited as I am to see it through.
I may be wrong in this, and you can certainly set me straight, but was there talk of that building being almost a satellite Kennedy Center, if
Yes.
you will?
Yeah. And I think the first step is to get it built.
Sure.
And then we can certainly discuss programming. My goal and what I would certainly hope for and advocate for would be satellite senior, and then also some kind of a community afternoon program for teens and for high school students. So in a perfect world, that's how it's utilized every day. But we'll cross that bridge when we can. And I hope it's sooner than later.
This next bit, I'm going to tie in a bit with what I received yesterday when I got home. I had a package waiting for me on the counter. It was, I know folks can't see this, but we'll have to take a photo and I'll put it into the program. But I have Bigfoot socks on. Check that out.
Oh, there you go.
And I bring that, so I got those as a gift because I like to hike. And I bring that up because you have probably one of the largest open spaces in your ward, and that, of course, is Faxon Park.
Right. Faxon Park is the programming and the maintenance over the last few years, just grassroots, the Friends of Faxon Park. I mean, they're a great group, as well as the Penn Hill Neighborhood Association. So having the Ward 2 Civic is focused a lot on the Quincy Point beaches and the green areas in the point, and then you have Friends of Faxon Park and the Penn Hill Neighborhood Association, and they're focused on really the rehab of Faxon Park and helping myself as the counselor to make sure that the right amenities are being placed there. There was some money secured a few years back for rehab to Faxon Park, and we saw some of that come in last year with the Frisbee, and we had a community meeting in August of 23. Really what that was to gauge what the neighbors and what everybody that utilizes the park wants to see there. So the product of that, the immediate product of that, is a new pergola, or essentially you'd say it's a shade structure for picnic tables that's going to be placed there, and that's going to be measuring 35 by 35 feet. So this is, of course, but maybe people at home don't. The Commissioner of Natural Resources, this is kind of Dave Murphy and I's, it's his baby that I get to kind of jump in on and give my 2 cents to where it's warranted. And I'm excited. The plans look great.
The old structure's still there, I believe.
It is.
And I can remember my days playing for St. John's baseball. And we used to have, at the end of the season, we would have a cookout right around
Right up there.
right around that area.
Yeah, it's a good area. During the campaign last year, I did a couple of Friday night food truck events up there. It's great, and certainly with a little more attention and money, obviously, it'll be even better. Outside of this new shade structure, we're talking about pickleball courts, and really putting some more time and effort into the blue dot and the red dot hiking trails over there.
So I've done both. I've done the red trail.
That was what I was going to ask you.
Yes, absolutely. And I've done the blue.
Yeah.
You mentioned Frisbee, and you're, of course, referring to Frisbee Golf.
Yes, that's actually on Faxon Park, on the Faxon Park Road side of the park. So instead of going in, I believe it's right there on the Faxon Park Road side. And I kept saying I was going to go in and play, but of course we've had a busy few months.
And I have a hard enough time with the regular golf.
If the residents see that I have enough time to play, Frisbee golf, they might take me up on a few things.
Oh, well. Now, where would the pickleball fields potentially go?
It's a moving, not to be tongue-in-cheek, it's a moving target. The goal was to put them closer to, say, Falls Boulevard, to that area. The safety concern in the park was a lot of homeless population and people maybe not feeling safe after hours or even not after hours. So the goal really is to spread out the amenities to cover all of that space, with the idea being that if you build amenities and have people in there, there may not be so much comfortability for maybe a population that may be using the park the wrong way. So the goal, what the Parks Department would like to do with Natural Resources, is place pickleball closer to the Walmart side, of the park, but we have to be careful as well that there's a neighborhood right between Camman and Walmart, the Circuit Road area, and we don't want to disturb that neighborhood either with any of that noise. So we're figuring that out as we go.
Is there a quarry or a water hole there on the Braintree side?
I believe so.
There
yes.
is.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's an expansive park, and certainly growing up on Penn's Hill, that was a park that I utilized a lot.
Yeah.
Never found Bigfoot, but I'm looking.
We forget how big it is.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yep.
Let's talk about, this was up before the council not too long ago, and that's the Cleverly Court area,
Sure.
the fields at Cleverly Court, and of course Cleverly Court is off of Washington Street.
Right. And one of the big things that you hear is green space. And I'm certainly a proponent for green space, smart development. There's a number of developments that I'm hoping we'll touch on too, but preserving the green space is huge. This particular area, so Cleverly Court is it's the triangle between Washington Street and East Howard Street. And at the end of Cleverly Court, if you're traveling towards East Howard, there are a few, 3 soccer fields. So the soccer fields are utilized more and more as the years go on. I've certainly noticed it. I know residents in the area have noticed it. And the next question was, how do we take that green space and enhance it and have some room for maybe some more amenities than I shouldn't say just, but more amenities over and above the soccer and the sports that are there. And so the proposal was to purchase the car wash that is on South Street, but the back end abuts these fields, so that the car wash could be parking to then be able to develop and utilize the field more. And the caveat to that was that the the MWRA also owns a lot across the street that we're hoping will be we'll be able to utilize as well. So with those 2 parking lots, in addition to the minimal parking that was already there, the next step is going to be what to do with that field, and I can't wait to see what the ideas are.
And what's the price tag?
The price tag for the existing car wash on South Street was $1.8 million. That's what it was purchased for, and I heard from people about the number. I'm not going to hide that or deny that, but I also know that it could have been purchased by any of the developers in the city or any of the developers outside of the city that just wanted to come in. It could have been purchased by anybody, and I would hate to have to go tooth and nail over 20 or 30 units. It's a big lot. A lot of construction could be done by right. So I look at this purchase as a win for preserving the green space in the area, especially when you think of that price tag also encompassing the utilization of the MWRA lot on the opposite side of Cleverly Court, and bringing some new amenities into that particular park.
This area, not too far from this area, because we're going to visit the corner of East Howard and Quincy Ave. Mm-hmm. For years, folks would remember that as the Burger King site.
Yes.
It then was a bank, and now it's going to be a dispensary?
Correct. 503 Quincy Ave is, the proposal was brought to the zoning board December. There was a community meeting last year. Essentially, the proposal for the marijuana dispensary, it's Chill and Bliss LLC, that was approved. I had some pushback from the residents over there. The real legal conundrum was that the city's ordinance for dispensaries is that dispensaries shouldn't be within 300 feet of parks or schools or neighborhoods or churches, or the highlight here was establishments with liquor licenses. So, of course, that site is next to the Moose Lodge. However, the Moose Lodge's liquor license is written by the town of Braintree. So the legal conundrum was, where do the ordinances stop? Can this be done? I will say a lot of different dispensaries a lot of different marijuana retailers have looked at that site over the years. It was still owned by Burger King. I have had discussions with the attorney for the new marijuana retailer that's coming in. They have some plans for the area. They want to, traffic improvements, safety improvements, green space. We've been talking about really how they can get their staff to be involved in the community, and they seem like really a do-good company. They have a flagship in Halifax, and I've spoken to some people actually in Halifax that say that they're a great company. So I know it may not have been ideal for a lot of the people, a lot of the residents there. I do think that we have a good neighbor, and certainly if there are any issues down the line, I think they'll be addressed, and I'm hoping for the best.
And it, of course, has been a blighted property for years.
Yes, it's been cited, by Ken Burke. He's the ordinance officer and code enforcement, and because Burger King still owned the property, which I don't think a lot of people knew. Burger King out of Miami, so try to track them down. Tell them that they owe the city of Quincy $100 a day for not picking up their trash, and good luck to you. But now you drive by it, it already looks better. So
that's a shame to hear with a major concern like that.
Yeah.
It was difficult to get money.
Difficult, and I say that as an example. If we get complaints in our neighborhood, $100 a day or $50 a day or whatever it is to you or I is, let me clean this up. That should have never happened. But trying to track down such a huge corporation out of state, it's not always in your favor. So
$100 is like 50 cents to them, I suppose, right?
Maybe even less, I don't know. But yeah, so that's the story with 503 Quincy Ave. Construction's ongoing now. Look forward to seeing it through. I'm sure it will be just as highly regulated and detail-oriented as Quincy Cannabis, as Ron Afsa's place at the Fall River Rotary, when people had a lot of issues when that was coming into. And for what it's worth, his establishment has certainly lived up to all the promises that he made prior to acquisition and into that build-out.
And what you had mentioned at the beginning, and a lot of folks maybe don't realize, is that a city of Quincy can house a number of dispensaries, but they seem to be, because of the restrictions in place, they seem to be in your ward and Councillor Devine's ward.
Correct. Because Quincy Point by the shipyard, namely, and if you think about where Quincy Cannabis is and you think about where Chill and Bliss is going to be, they both abut the shipyard. That's an industrial zone, and my understanding is Councillor Devine and in Ward 4 has the same footprint over, by Granite Links and in that area of Copeland Water, that industrial zone by right. Then these marijuana retailers are able to come in. Of course, the public can participate in that process, but we have largely the same footprint in that sense.
You mentioned zoning, and I cover zoning, and I know, and this will be revisited. I don't know of the actual date. I believe it's sometime in May. 10 Independence Ave.
Yes, 10 Independence Ave. There's a proposal out there. For those who don't know at home, it is the property opposite both McKay's and the Adams houses. So at the corner of Franklin and Independence, you have McKay's on one corner, the Adams house is on one corner, and Sweeney Funeral Brothers on the third. This is, of course, the fourth corner, and right now it's an auto shop. So the proposal for that is 4 stories, 9 units, parking underneath, 23 parking spaces out between under the first floor covered and the lot. We've had a good amount of community pushback. I'm certainly trying to mend and meet in the middle somewhere.
It's oversized, correct?
The variances that they would need from the zoning board would be for the 4th story and also for the setback from the curb. And that's what the residents are mainly concerned about, having a property that is directly on the curb with no room to actually walk around it. And then also Mary Ann Peak, certainly at the Adams houses, and Mr. Sweeney, they would rather not have a 4-story building that could potentially overshadow their, of course, well-respected community assets. So that's ongoing. I believe the proposal is going to be heard by the planning board on May 15th, and that would, in zoning thereafter. So the first step for that particular project is going to be May 15th. And I actually just prior to walking in here today, Mark, I got a call that we'll be having a community meeting confirmed on May 14th. So look forward to getting that'll be the second. The first community meeting we had was very well attended on this particular property, and that was on January 18th. So we'll have another one on May 14th prior to the planning board. Look forward to reviewing the updated plans and the proposal, and then after planning, should it go through planning, we'll tackle zoning.
With all this development, not only in your ward, but throughout the city, safety, pedestrian safety is a concern. There have been fatalities in your ward. There have been injuries in your ward. Talk about that.
At the end of January, a gentleman at 1000 Southern Artery who was very well known and respected, unfortunately, was hit on Des Moines Road crossing under the bridge there, and he passed away. And my condolences certainly to his family and the residents that knew him. Not but I think 8 weeks later, we had the pedestrian accident in the crosswalk outside of Presidential Estates, so just a few feet away. That had some news coverage and was covered widely by the Boston area news stations, which I appreciated, because the more eyes you have on it, the more attention you get. The traffic department has been amazing to me the first few months. We've got a ton of minor signage issues done and completed, but the larger project is this area of Quincy Ave and Southern Artery. And it's my understanding that they've sent out some applications for some federal funding to do, and I don't want to speak out of turn or speak for them. I'm sure they'll have the proper rollout kind of for this if it is approved, but they've got some applications out for federal funding to help with that particular area. In the meantime, as early as next week, is this wood?
I think the
Knock on wood.
outer rim is.
In the meantime, as early as next week, residents should see larger signage, brighter signage. I'm hoping the recommendation will be to bring those lights down, because that stretch from the intersection of Falls Boulevard, Quincy Ave, and Southern Artery, and then juxtaposed with that's very well lit, and then the stretch, and then the intersection of South Street and Southern Artery is also well lit. So by contrast, anything in between that isn't as well lit is then dark. That's kind of the issue, is figuring out what wattage and how the light should be placed.
And we were talking about the bike lane that is on that road as well. Unfortunately, I think folks need to, not only bicyclists, but motorists need to understand how to treat a bike lane. Mm-hmm. It's an education thing that needs to happen.
I agree, and I know Quinn Cycles is they're certainly trying to educate everybody. They were a great asset to me last year when learning about pedestrian safety and bike lanes. We have the same issue on Quincy Ave though. Quincy Ave looks great. It'll be done. The timeline is to get Quincy Ave completely done by June 1st, which I'm thrilled with, and that's going to be awesome. Now that they have those nice sidewalks, the nice big sidewalks with the big curbing, and the bike lanes. Now we just have to hope that everybody, pays attention and slows down, quite frankly, and utilizes their particular areas the right way. So, keeping with road work, let's talk about some road work that's being done throughout your ward or is scheduled to be done. Yep. Quincy Ave's the main corridor. And I'm thrilled and very happy with Commissioner Grazioso and the DPW. They've been very helpful with the area actually off of Quincy Ave up Circuit Road. There's a mosque in this area, and then it's heavily residential. So it's the Circuit, Spalding, Altamount, and Apex. So those streets are going to also be redone in conjunction with Quincy Ave and should be completed by June 1st as well. So myself and actually Mark Hintigas from the DPW, we walked around to all the residents over there the other day, and they seem to be very happy that their streets are going to be redone. I think it's been a long time coming. It's a forgotten about neighborhood if you don't know anybody over there or live over there, and I'm very happy that they're getting the work they deserve.
I think as we get close to the end of this program, Meet the Counselor. You have that as part of your newsletter.
Yes.
That's upcoming?
That's May 16th, 6 to 8 at Clifford Marshall. So if you got an earlier pressing of this newsletter, it did say Fall River Clubhouse. I will tie that in with the Fall River Clubhouse is being utilized so much that they were actually double booked, or I double booked myself by accident. No harm, no foul to the Parks Department. But that will be at Clifford Marshall on May 16th from 6 to 8. So if residents want to come introduce themselves, any neighborhood issues, not that I'm not accessible by email or telephone, but if they'd rather a face-to-face interaction.
I think we have just a couple minutes. I know
Sure.
we wanted to mention upcoming events, but
Sure.
I think we should talk a little bit about the Quincy Community Electricity Program.
Yep. No, I agree. The program seems great. I believe that the residents that are listening to this program probably have heard about it before because it has been so heavily covered by QATV and by the administration. And a number of the questions that we received are centered around why is opting in the default? Why wasn't it a survey that says opt out if you don't want it? And I understand people's concerns. I will say it is common with contracts of this nature. Essentially, the city, in order to obtain these lower rates, these 13.84 cent kilowatt per hour rates that are significantly less and cheaper than the standard national grid rates, the best way to do that is to be able to guarantee that company that we are going to try to opt in these, I believe the number is 55,000, these 55,000 electricity residents. So if you can, it's hedging your bets, it's a finance issue, but in order to obtain those rates, the best way to do that was to opt everybody in. And if people want to opt out, they're more than welcome to. The deadline for that is May 15th.
Very good. I guess we do have a couple minutes, so let's talk about some upcoming events.
Sure. Upcoming events. So Cleaner Greener Quincy is this Saturday, May 4th. And I'm very excited I love Cleaner Greener every year. We have the Ward 2 Civic I've helped out with up to last year as a great group at Mount Street Beach. So I'll be kind of going around this year to see everybody. Clifford Marshall will have a great one. The other big event this Saturday is Quincy Point Kong's Build-A-Bed Workshop. They build 4 beds. They have the last few years for people that need them. And that's also a very great community-driven event in Ward 2. Just going to go down my list. Clifford Marshall and Point Webster's Fun Run is June 1st this year. It's a Saturday, 9:30 to 12:30. Kids start at Point Webster. They do a nice warm-up. Last year, school committee woman Courtney Perdios leads the warm-up, gets everybody going, and they run from Point Webster to the Marshall. At the Marshall, there's a huge wellness fair, wellness center, all different vendors, sponsors. Go, there's in years past, there's been somebody doing yoga and teaching the kids how to eat right. It's a really great morning. So that's June 1st. They're looking for sponsors too, and the deadline for sponsorship to them is also May 15th.
Very good. And I guess, do you have anything else you'd like to add? We have about 30 seconds.
Oh, do I have anything else? There's been a number of traffic signage improvements in the ward all over. So people will notice no commercial vehicle parking, no parking signs, one side of the street parking. Traffic department has been awesome in getting those things done. And I will wrap up with the corner of Sumner and Main Street will soon be a 4-way stop as opposed to a complete intersection, in hopes to quell the speed on those roads.
Very good. Pedestrian safety.
Pedestrian safety, yes, Mark.
Councillor Ash, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
joining me, and we'll have you back in on a consistent basis.
Yes, I hope so.
And thank you at home for watching, and please remember to support Quincy Access Television for more programming just like this.